All right, project 2, check in, round 2, let's get it. Looks like Ben Humphries is at the top of the list. All right, so this is GE. It's interesting because you're introducing this, I don't know if it's called a sub-brand. Actually, it's kind of a weird brand, right? So GE is like maybe your most popular consumer market. Monogram is your premium market. So maybe, let me rephrase that. So maybe mass majority consumer, luxury. So Haier would be your premium market. I like what you're saying, right? In order to be successful, you got to do these things. You're competing against these people. Okay, it's a pretty good setup. All right, so this is washer dryer. That's another good little point in here, right? Is there any way you're telling me that you're getting to washer dryer first, or is it their entire product market? The reason I like to know is when I get to here, you're talking about laundry. Let me know that there's more products offered by GE and LG and Samsung other than laundry. So I'm just wondering if you should touch on that before we get here. Okay, I like their values. I like the bolding. Visually looks good. Nice. Unexpected features are nice. I think there's a lot of visuals going on down here. Does it work? Yes. I would like it more if they were just all verticals, right? The less is more approach. I do see some preliminary sketches, but those are very much dwarfed by your product vision and your aesthetic exploration. I might just drop the sketches, give me a little paragraph as your tertiary information. Feature exploration I like, but I will say I don't enjoy the departure from the grid so much. Like this felt organized and easy to absorb, and then you kind of break it. So I like you to bring that back under control. Because I don't know what this is, I would prefer at this moment to see these as full images. I like this guy. Yeah, this page needs to be updated a pretty good bit. Also page numbers. Not a huge fan of page numbers, and this is exactly why. Right? You leave page numbers off, there's no way I can critique you and say, oh man, you got 2 number 8. If you leave them off, I just trust you to put them in the right order. All right, I think a pretty good part of this is the UX display. So maybe a couple of shots. I don't need like the full thing because I think you're already touching on like in terms of product detail, aesthetics, details. I just said that. To me a little bit. So context, yes, a little bit of interface, but not too much. All right, cool. It's got potential. Miss Sarah? Hey, newsflash, just watched this thing on Netflix. The French dropped, this is not really new, but the French dropped their Mademoiselle designation. Just, want y'all to be aware of these things. All right, cool. I wouldn't throw this on the first page though. Just give me like a pretty assistive technology. Who'd you work with? I know this kid. I saw it in summer project. Really, that's page number 2. So just leave this number 1 as an introduction page, and then do entire left and right spread as, let me tell you about William. These are okay. I don't really so much like the word boards. I know by size and maybe hierarchy, these are the most important things. I would rather like 3 or 4 sentences be like, yo, this is who he is, this is what he likes, this is what he wants, that type of introduction. Than this is a bit open to interpretation. Well, I think you could be more direct. Let's change the color. Watch what happens. Oh man, look how more saturated. It doesn't do anything. Huh. So I mean, keep in mind I've seen this project before, but I haven't seen this process, what type of amputation it is. Is it important that we know what, I mean, obviously we see how it happens. I would say that's the most important. In terms of numbers, how many kids across maybe the United States are affected by this Symes amputation condition? Yeah, you see this big X? It means don't do this right here. Just tell me what you're going to tell me. This is like it's trying to be too fancy. Additionally, all I see is this little... Alright, we're talking about shoes. Tell me we're talking about shoes. And if I recall right, it's a big issue of getting the shoes on, so the solution is a Velcro and a clip. These would be a bit bigger, right? Plus, in the world of saucy shoe sketches, I've seen plenty of saucy shoe sketches. These are not them. Not that they have to be so gorgeous, but they don't look that attractive. I also like the size, right? I don't care so much about the style of shoe. I mean, I know maybe you installed these on some black Chucks. I might take a more is less approach here as well. Finding shoes that fit because of the prosthesis side, the inability of the foot to flex, something like that. And I really think we're missing a page because you talked about the problem of you could design a shoe, you could design a lacing system, you could design another prosthetic. So why'd you choose the direction you chose? Alright, so this piece you can install. I haven't seen this slide before, so I'm a bit confused by it. Additionally, the color scheme. I'm not really so sure we need the branding on this, though. It's a pretty simple solution. Simple solutions can be really good, too. Options, right? You can do a sequence of use. Additionally, instead of install this on this Kaiser 12 soccer shoe, which I do like soccer shoes, let's go up here and look at who you talked about. I don't see soccer anywhere in here. Or, yes, energetic, but I don't see any sports emphasis to tell me that cleat would be a good selection. I do see a Batman logo, though. My suggestion to the student this summer who did it was, man, photos of a Batman logo on this. It tells you're paying attention to like his physical needs, but also like the emotional, personal needs. And is that William? I'm gonna say no. Also, like the person this summer had a hard time figuring out how to Photoshop the current pictures. They weren't very good. How to finish the project off. So, only request is see if you can find. I mean, we don't really know who William is. Just a consistent kid, beginning and end. Mr. Richard, let's see what you got. What are you bringing to the table? No, one of these, little Randy project. Sip of tea, excuse me. Alright, that's warm. The creek. It's a bit bold. I don't mind the bonus. I'm more curious about how are you introducing your projects on the first page over the course of your portfolio, and does it match other styles? So if it matches, I'm cool. If it doesn't match, I would persuade you to go a little bit more delicate with your introductory text. Problem, yeah, the creek's pretty gross. Also, you're working with a hospital that's down by the river. There's so much potential in these possible areas. From a viewpoint, I don't know what you're going to see. Like, do people take walks out there as part of the rehab? That'd be good to know. Yeah, doing some brainstorming. I like it. I can't tell what that is, so I can't tell you about it. All right, I do want an entire page dedicated to the 3 Mile Creek before you get to this, because this is really your problem statement. Because all this guy, what are the integration with the locals? What does the city want? Is there any type of funding? What type of range can you concept for? If you do improvement, what are your expectations from the community? Are you having any mixed use, public space, private space, municipal space? Just a couple of things. And I'm willing to bet this is important, but if I can't read it, I can't validate it's important. So just spend an entire page just on giving me the context. Like, that's essentially the problem. And then you can hone in and say, all right, this is what we're working with, but the hospital is our main focus of interest. And if you want to affect the entire thing, this is what we have to start with per the hospital. And then when I know what you're doing, I can appreciate your solutions. So right now it's a bit too early. Pavilion design, these aren't your designs. I don't mind being inspired by them. I don't want you to be over-inspired to the point of copy-paste. So I expected a little, at least a touch of development. Amphitheater, right? So you're adding pavilions and amphitheaters, but why? Right? And that should come from introducing this and the opportunities. Not a bad project. Y'all, the people who are doing this 3 Mile project, y'all got to talk to one another. It's a difficult project for an industrial designer to take on. And secondly, I can't give you the best critiques in the world because I typically do more user. I can critique user interface. I can user experience. I can critique ID projects. I can even services to a certain degree. But architecture is tough, especially like we can prototype and put it in somebody's hand and say, hey, this will probably work, or like this is what I need to change. But the architecture at such a large scale, it's difficult for me to give you feedback on validation because I don't know. So y'all gonna do some research and figure out what's most appropriate. All right, I think I talked about this. Did we talk about this project a little bit? Yeah, I talked to you about it in class this past week. All right, let me look at these margins. I don't have anything wrong about adding graphic elements, but right now you are shrinking your real estate through the margins, right? So you got an inch on the top, inch on the bottom. Do you ever use it for anything but these bars? Bars, bars, bars. So since you aren't using it, my vote is get rid of the bars, scale everything up, right? That's not really doing very much. I think that's a fine image. Same thing over here. You could pull this in, scale up, pull these in a little bit, maybe scale down the images so they fit when you scale up. But that's my vote. Let the cool part be your work. All right. How do we spell sketches? And if you are doing this project, let's see, this is outside in, so this is more of a visual brand language. You were given a word, so you could explore that guy. What does that mean? Give me synonyms. Visually, what could that be? Because when you're it could be anything. It's difficult for me to trust in your ability to synthesize information. So I would like a pre-page between these two. I had to achieve this type of look with my clock. This is 3 synonyms, and these are 3 visualizations for those synonyms. And I don't know what your word is, so it's difficult for me to give you feedback on that. In terms of sketching and feedback, right, keep in mind I do like call-outs, but I can't read them, I can't appreciate them. So I would erase, write them bigger. I would also, let's flip-flop that one to the right side. Let's get rid of these vignettes that don't make any sense anymore, because you're going to work on the face of the clock after you figure out the overall form. And you didn't go with that. I guess it's okay. All right, we talked about this. I don't want all caps just because it's difficult to read. I do like sans serif in this situation. How about concept refinement? Because truly you're not done until you do this guy, right? And even some things changes because your accent color went away. So to tell me that your final is a bit dishonest. Is your word dynamic? Is it athletic? I don't know. I'm starting to guess. What does this button do? Right? You're telling me it does some type of depression. Two sentences max. I don't mind dynamic flow, but what does it tell me about the product? Right? You could say it's angle geometry to imply aggressive nature, something like that. Right? Are you doing the word stable? See, I'm starting to get some conflicting thoughts. Right, 3 or 4, that's fine. After that, I'm like, that's too much. It's too much work. I feel like I'm telling this to everybody. The more you can minimize your text and make it just purely about what I see, and then secondarily about what I can pick up quickly, you're gonna win. But y'all keep on, and this is not just you, Paul. This is like everybody. Show me. Quit talking about it. Show me. Sip of tea. This is low-key pretty insightful because you're putting a battery indicator on here, and I usually rip people for not giving cords because typically appliances plug in, but since yours doesn't plug in, you got a battery. A roof to reduce glare. Okay, I'm down with that. So for me, what I'm wanting is more of a, you're asked to do a clock based upon these guidelines, then you export it through Sketch, and then you export it through Refinement. I do like the model portion because I think we do prototypes better than anybody else. You know, if you ain't got them, that's okay, but if you do got them, it's a good product or a good project for it. D2. What do we have here? Oh, brother. You know what I said last week about if you're going to do spreads, which I can tell you're doing spreads because that bleeds over to that one. You got to show me like it spreads because it's one composition. And when I don't see one composition, it's always going to throw off my critique. So my critique for you, if you want spreads, show them as spreads so I can critique them as spreads. I feel that might be too small when you jump over to spreads as well. Alright, so placeholder, I agree with you. There's like no formatting on this picture. But it's a good start. What's going wrong with the industry? How can you make it better? Also, where you're going to be. This is my third project that I looked at. If you are in a big box store, the type of packaging changes. Where it's more pallet based, it's less carton or box based, and you're selling things at a bulk instead of individually. So manage my expectations a little bit. So all right, these boxes are going to be different than the boxes you see typically at like a Kroger or a Whole Foods because, and then you show them and say, all right, so these are the problems and this is how I intend to fix them. Maybe that has an element of that in there. I'm good with that, right? As long as you keep on developing 3D models and telling me about them. Because the difference between these two is you're telling me your thought process, pros and cons in sketching. Here I just detail div into forms. So if you can find a way to do callouts off of your cardboard, this might be a really good opportunity. Actually, these are the same. This is more of sequence of use. Save that for later. Right? Yeah, I think it's more sequence of use. So this is an entire page. What I might do is just, if structural nature of this project is more important, kill off the sketches. Do, how are we going to structure this? 3 small images, 1 big image, and then do call outs off that image. Yeah, it's more of a sequence of use instead of product. First final model. Yeah, I got an oxymoron. Is it the first, which is the first, or is it final, which is the final? We could call it a developmental model. Also, Photoshop that top out. I just want to see this. Design change is good. Alright. Less paper, less time. Now the time is a bit convoluted because it's time to manufacture or time to set up. I believe it's set up, but all you gotta do is write 6.5 minutes setup, 3 minutes setup. I don't know what this is. This looks like a pallet. 4 pallets or 12 pallets. That's why it's confusing. Cost. That's pretty impressive. Right? I think it's a good page. Just give me a little bit of information so I can appreciate your change of design. If this guy is the same thing as this guy, I would rather go for the real one than this. It's a bit easier to understand. Or you can combo, right? Give the arrows and impose them over here. At this point, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'd like some color. Yo, that's not the final model. This is the product, that's the holder. The product on the holder is your final model. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, you know you got a Photoshop in there. Also, these items, I know this is picky, but you were talking about laundry stuff. Is this a laundry aisle? Debatable, right? It's cleaning. Looks like something you might do. Alright, it's a good aisle. This item. Alright, introducing something, don't know what it is. Icons fix 6 potential problems. Okay, good. Then how you get it down to 1 is what I'm curious. Did you pick? Did they pick? What's the problem? Looks like a desk edition, which is weird for Pratt because typically it's cartons or something to do with shipping. Alright, you know you got to throw a lot more information on this for me to believe that it's valid. And will they sell these? I mean, is that what they... It is a display. You got to convince me because like all other Pratt things that I've seen are more in the terms of business to business and not business to consumer. Like to say that an unknown business would sell products to college students doesn't make a lot of sense. So you got to get me to that transition. I know there's just 8 as to that. All right, you need more information before I can give good feedback. Also, our eyes are drawn to the areas of highest contrast and highest detail. My eye goes there first. It's not that it's bad, but blink, you don't want that to happen. So how do we bring attention back over here? Is that BGM? Because you've done the same thing here, I might consider, I don't want another horizontal line. Auburn University Department of Industrial Design. What if you ID plus BGM and then underneath it give me a little bit of information? I also figured this might be over 20 megs, but since it loaded, I'm going to run with it. But you know, next time be careful. You don't want me to test those things. Come on, brother. I'm not going to read none of that. All I read is Buckeye Ministries. You already said that before. Product direction. That deserves a lot more emphasis because this guy's your project. The things you say in here are going to validate, confirm, or deny your ending. So, you know, I would persuade you to put more real estate, more importance on it. Situation, backpack, cool. Organization. I like this page. Say less, bold if you have more than 3 or 4 lines. Also, you got a lot of white space, so maybe we have a call out under here. Health. I do like this, but I don't want to pull another line off of it because like the simplicity is nice. So could you say something briefly and important there? Also, you see how this one has a lot of contrast because it's over black? You might have to come under your graphic, but over the image with a little a dark black 90% brush, but leaves opacity to make that area darker, to make the text pop. 3 lines down, I'm fine with. 6 lines down, too much. And you're starting to tell me the important criteria, so I do like that, because there's got to be some direction. What is going on here? Let's see your margins. You're not using your margins. Use your margins twice. Use your margins twice. I say get rid of them, man. Like they're taking up tons of real estate. You could throw it like just here, and just make sure a sketch misses it, or at the very least kill either the top margin or the bottom margin off, because all it's doing is hurting your real estate. These are good pictures, but by scrunching it, you already took what was going to take 60% of the screen, and then you reduce yourself to like, all right, well, instead of using 50% of the screen or 60, you're down to like 50, or even worse, like 40. So use the real estate you have. If you don't use this, just get rid of it. Like it's not benefiting you. Like the cool parts should be your project, not the graphics. I think you come back in here, you got a couple of open spots, just come in, hand write some notes about what you're thinking. It should be based upon some of your observations. Hey, I was thinking of, this is what happens. Organization. Organize. I'm going to call you out because you're the only person probably listening to this right now. But I'm going to stop doing like misspelled words. Like that's not part of my job. That's more like English, right? And I'm just going to let it go. Like y'all know by now, I'm tired of saying do spell check. You're going to go, oh, I missed that. I'm like, yeah, you missed it. I saw it, but maybe I'll get y'all's attention to spell check things when an employer sends it back to you. You'll learn sometime. Sip of tea. All right, perfect temperature. Yeah, add some call outs. Tell me what you're thinking about. Yep, gotta finish this project, but if you look back, who did this project previously? Who was it? It's one of the guys. It's not Hawkins. Maybe it's the other Jack. I don't know. But did a really good explanation of the solution, where typically you have just all these black folders, black containers. You don't explain to me what they are. For anybody, they're just going to be black containers. So refer to whoever did this project before, and pick some of the good things that they did. Again, I think we might have talked about this cat after class. Yes, we did. Actually, that's a good photo. I'm going to close it because we talked about it. Not finished. It's okay. It's a check-in. I'm just going to make sure everything's good so far. Artisan what? I'm already thinking, man, this dude's super pretentious, talking about artisan things. All right. Toaster. Yeah. Fan night. I'm going to give you much feedback as you gave me information. Tell me why these are wrong. Sequence of use, I'm down. Explain the benefits. Include a cord. Show it in the house. Good. A few minutes put in, a few minutes feedback. All right, don't know what it is. Good opportunity for a little product or project introduction. Structural. Why you got to cover things up though? Just use a grid, man. Also, I talked about these words being super big. We're presenting this information to people who are very visually based, and you're putting way too much emphasis on the words. Yes, structural is important. And yes, your mood board is important, but the actual content is more important than the words. Because if you left this off, I go, oh, he's looking at different pieces of architecture, concrete, wires. Might be a mood board, might be inspiration. Do I really have to tell you this? La day. If you don't know what la day means, research it. It's an expression. It doesn't have a literal meaning, but it's how I feel right now. I'm cool with the progression. The only thing I'm really not liking is all these vignettes. Actually, no. The majority of the vignettes are consistent. This one bothers me the most because the red outline, that brings my attention. It really shouldn't. Also, if all the other ones are more like a rhombus or four-sided, get rid of the radius, man. Consistency, I like it. Final concept origin, don't do that. I know this is when you're going towards because it's bigger, it's more prominent. Arguably, I'd like this in 2 bits. I'd like the preliminary models, then like the developmental models. But if this is the only image you have, kill off concept models and tell me what you're thinking as you're making it. What are the pros and what are the cons? Why'd you go with this? Why'd you steer away from something else? Final concept needs at least 2 pages. You ain't really got to tell me final concept so much, but I want you to know pros and cons. See this weird glue thing going on in the background? We got to get rid of that. So that's some Photoshop work. Some pretty good Photoshop work because you've got a highlight hidden. You've got some drop shadows just barely because of the thickness. But all I see right now is bad craftsmanship. You got to get rid of it. And then a validation. J-Lo. Has anyone called you J-Lo? Probably so. I'll leave it alone. Man, this bubbly top cracking me up. I don't know why. Maybe I think it's too much. Go back to normal. I don't know if I'd devote an entire page just to the companies you're working with. It's cool that you work with them, but I'd keep them to one side, explain maybe why they're all integrating together, and then what's the objective. 5 in 68 children are identified with autism spectrum disorder. It's an interesting way to do it. I still might make that a bit bigger. Somehow make these correlate with one another. It's almost like the color's slightly off. That feels a bit more orange. Don't know why. Okay. I think we're close on this page. Just scale the type, scale the logos down just a little bit. Let the white space breathe. Let me think about how I'm going to say this. These errors that develop through play, true. But really this is more like it's a better how might we statement. How can we develop these interactions through play? Same thing. Man, easy on the type, man. Maybe this should be lowercase. Objectives is an all, well, it's lowercase minus the first letter. Can you give me an attempt as lowercase f, p, and e? Also, man, not so bold. I can read. I feel like you're making my screen right up against my face. This is what I see first as this white space. Can we take some of these sketches and pull them over here? Similarly, I do like the call-outs, but like a lot of people call-outs, if I can't read them, I can't tell what you're thinking. So get rid of the call-outs, rewrite them so they're legible. And should be introducing color. All right, your goals. Individual, collaborative, play, color, sound, motion, texture. So, very textures. Good. Clicks and frequencies. One thing I think you're missing, the collaborative play element. As you said earlier, communication and social interaction are developed through what? Collaborative play. So, let's not forget that. I think it's quite important. Oh man, this is depressing. Why would you do that? You're a terrible human being. Let me tell you why. You've talked, maybe that's a teacher. Maybe those are two siblings. I don't know. Social interaction, communication skills require more than one person. And then at the very end, this is one person playing by himself on a playground. Yo. Shame. Also, let's go back to one of your mission points. Vary textures, sound and motion, and color. You gave me 2 colors. So, other than I'm feeling this is a not very successful output at the moment, I think you got some backlogging. Because this is important, right? I mean, I've had multiple students in the past have younger siblings, older siblings on the autism spectrum. And if they feel like you're patronizing their sibling and giving them a bad solution, they're going to eat you alive. So this is like a pre-eating. You got to get this thing right. There's too much on the line for you just to kind of mail this thing in. Oh, Ben, I never thought about it like that before. I feel like I'm by myself. We got to raise the bar around this place. Branding project. 5 months. Just curious. I think some things, my screen might be a little distorted, like where there would be a circle. Actually, it's an ellipse right now. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. You don't really show me this. You can just put it in the front of your portfolio. So I'll skip it. Beginning of this Triton. There we go. I'm not going to read, right? So phase 1, sub-brand creation. What are you sub-branding? Like, what is your major company? Is it Starbucks? No, because I'm kind of looking over here. This doesn't really remind me of Starbucks. So in order to do a sub-brand, you got to explain the brand and convince me that you know what it works like. That way you can do a spin-off. Yep, it's Starbucks. And it kind of has to exist in that realm, right? Because if I look at this, the entire thing, and go, no, this isn't Starbucks, not even a little bit, then it's a failure, right? It's a sub-brand. They're, in reality, they're financing this thing from the get-go. They're taking on the liability. So you want it to have some type of resemblance of what's going on there already. So it can be different, but you have to argue that point and convince me that you're right. Also in terms of sequence of use, 1, 2, 3, right? I'm reading from left to right and top to bottom, and this is a bit confusing because it's more of a folding. And I really can't tell what's going on here because it's just black. POP display. The images aren't bad. Okay, one problem I have is, you see how your whites are white, whites are white, whites are not white. So the white balance needs to be, balanced out. Storage. Instead of going across like 2 items, is there any way to shift some of these things to the left and get that information over here? Not that y'all have to, but did y'all ever do design for like universal design? What if I have a disability or a handicap? Can I still engage your POP? Questions I gotta ask. Cozy. I do like cozy lounges. How do you get up there? How are the stairs? A way you can kind of talk about how someone experiences and goes through the space is an aerial view. I know it's got 2 floors. Think of it the more architectural approach. 2 floors, one slightly stacked on top of it on the top right corner of the other one. Show me how someone would enter it. What things of interest are they going to see? What do they know leaving that they didn't know coming into it? It's not that the graphics are bad. It just needs a bit more body to it. Okay. Something in here shouldn't be. Brede. Too much information. Mark Hollister contributed in 3D development. Done. I actually might go a little bit bigger on this. I do like the use of white space in the key. It's a gray space, but it's a little bit, it's not going to hurt it and help it be a little bit more legible. 9% of the world population where the WHO air quality guidelines? What are these WHO quality guidelines? That's pretty mean for you to give me some information and not explain where it came from. Yes. Can you give me some convincing information that it's suggested that the increase of air pollutants in Beijing has led to so many more cases of asthma, so many cases of COPD, so many cases of lung and respiratory cancer? That'll hit home. Yes. What about normal mask? Like if an Asian friend of mine was sick, they put on a mask. Does that have any respiratory quality? Or are these more specifically just towards cleaning out the air in terms of pollution? They maybe look sick. Good point. How my personality. Okay, interesting thoughts. Too much information on one page. Right? I'm not going to read any of that. So you either got to streamline it into bullet points, or I don't want 2 pages. So you got to streamline the information. This is an inspiration page. I took inspiration from active lifestyles. I wanted the final solution to be ding, 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 ding. It's alright. Yeah, this needs work. Why do you need glasses? Ooh, that hand though. Where do glasses come from? I mean, what's the difference between Clark Kent and Superman? One hides the personality, hides the identity. So why'd you come and do that? Yeah, kick that off. That doesn't really help me. What did you learn from this model? Also thinking about the looks. Good. Good. What are you going to do about it, though? What does air curtain have to do with anything? Oh, are you into that technology in here? Silent computer fans? Well, are they really silent? Wouldn't this thing like dry out your nose? If it's always blowing air into it. I know this is Brandon. You ain't gotta tell me. At this point, so you've already shown me this. I don't need both of them, just one bigger. Right? Show me that logo. Don't know what this is. I'd rather you include the business cards. You gotta have a real hand on this thing. Another option instead of doing a real hand is like do a ghost vectorized hand. So Trace's cat in Illustrator. Then fill it with white. Knock it down to like maybe 40% opacity. That way it's about the object, it's about the context and scale, not so much about this weird Play-Doh looking thingy. Are you pulling some type of information on there? Because you circled it. You may be curious. Number 1. Oh, you left it. Get your spacing right over here. Huh. Airbnb said, hello, Ben Bush. Well, hello, Airbnb. I think you missed an opportunity for a little logo there, too. Just telling you what to think. Alright, if this button rotates that forward and back, I think that button should be red. Also, HEPA filter, very important. One of your difficulties was replacing lots of filters, right? How did you cut down on that? I think it looks more like Iron Man. You might have to repurpose or reframe some of the problems, because you talk about hiding identity and you come back and throw glasses on. Well, what if I don't want to wear glasses? Does this thing still work? When I come back and through their intakes, I was looking where those guys were. Okay, kind of feeling uncertain. Wait. Go back. What'd he say? Compressed version. Thank you. Super tune. Let's Photoshop that out. I don't know why that's the first thing I see. Let's Photoshop it out. All right, before we get to the sketching phase, let's just talk about inspiration. Maybe do like from this to this. So current picture, then elements of what it could be. One moment. Additionally, what's with the tribal? It's a bit much at this point. I mean, if the person wants tribal, tell me up front. Don't surprise me. All right, humble beginnings. Totally agree with you. But how do we bring attention to the object first and not the background? Unfortunately, that means some Photoshop in your future. Because some of this is like, you want to get my eyes on the thing you want to get my eyes on, right? So you got to take out the background. You have to take it out completely, but you got to reduce the opacity. That way it brings the attention to the foreground. Right, at this point you can start talking about sketches before your fabrication. Also, plenty of process pics, but I would like to know what you're thinking through here. So maybe one of these guys come out and then give me pretty strong statements, 3 of them. Get rid of it was quiet. I know it is. Everything's tough. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I mean, it really is impressive, the change that it went through. What I find myself later on is I'd like to see I'm gonna say what I think. Images that are more descriptive. And it could be just the background issue. It's hard for me to figure out what's going on in that image. Or what you could do, you could create a schematic to help me figure out what's all happening. Like an isometric view of what this is going to be. Think of it like a Lego manual where I see what's going on in this picture, right? 3/4 view. We added structural framing, added something else. Next thing, same 3/4 view, added this, added this. That way I can appreciate what's happening in the pictures, because right now I'm kind of guessing. Like, you're not verbally walking me through, and I do like the images. But something else to help me figure out what was added every step. Only problem with this image is, one, kill the Mountain Dew. Two, this. Like, what is this stuff? I would take a picture of some kudzu over here, like just kudzu one line, copy, paste it, throw in the background, and make that look like there's kudzu in the background. Because you want somebody looking at what's on the interior, right? And this is where my eye drifts. All right, bring it home. I'm not really sure you gotta call it bent plywood. I know it's bent for sure. I really can't confirm it's plywood or not. But how many week project? Who'd you work with? Why is it significant? How long did it take? I'd rather see that information instead of bent plywood. This isn't you. It doesn't feel like it's your style either. All right, sitting kills people. Got it. We all sit because we all work with computers. What I might do is hit me with one statement. We all know that sitting too much is killing us. What can we do to change it? Right? That's more the big and bold statement. Then underneath it, you can hit me with this other, exactly how killing is killing people. Yes, killing does kill people. I kind of feel like it's redundant too. Tell me once, tell me well. We need to share that placeholder. Make sure it's a simple placeholder, because like right now you're setting up my expectation of what the chair is going to be. So keep the images pretty simple. Simple but elegant. I agree. That should be up here though. I don't think I need double pages. Sketch pages, no text. All right. I'd like some human in these things to tell me about form. I'm assuming it's for adults because adults sit, but scale's important. What are you trying to tell me that it does? It rotates flat. Do I really need 8 pictures to tell me that it folds flat? I don't even know why it folds flat. Maybe that'd be important to explain up here. Does it still fold flat? If it doesn't, it kind of feels like you're a liar. Yep. And before the validation, I do like this in context. In terms of a photo, it works all right. I want that full bleed on the left side. Then pull out some call outs. Hey, benefit. Hey, benefit. Hey, we solved this problem that I told you about earlier. Another benefit. And then in context at the very end. All right. Good job, Ben.